Daddy isn't dead. He's under the floorboards. The words came from a 5-year-old girl, and they stopped everyone cold. Police Chief Mike Thompson almost spilled his coffee when he heard her say it. Little Kesha sat in a chair at the station, legs swinging back and forth, clutching a worn-out teddy bear. She spoke with the same calmness a child might use to describe what they had for lunch. Daddy is down there, where Mommy put the new tiles. Sergeant Davis didn't even look up from his paperwork. Kids have wild imaginations, he muttered. She probably watched a scary movie. But something in Kesha's eyes made Thompson pause. Her big, serious eyes weren't the eyes of a child making up stories. They were the eyes of someone who had seen something terrible. Thompson knew that look. He had seen it on trauma victims, but never on a child this young. The neighbor who brought Kesha in, Mrs. Williams, a 67-year-old woman, insisted something was very wrong. Marcus Johnson, Kesha's father, had been missing for 4 days. Deputy, that man would never disappear without a word. He wouldn't even go to the grocery store without telling someone first. Thompson knew Marcus by reputation. A respected civil engineer, always punctual, always present at his daughter's school events, a proud father who carried her photos in his wallet. But his wife, Vanessa Johnson, was a complete opposite. When she filed the missing person report, she had done it as casually as if she were renewing a license. A polished, well-dressed white woman. She spoke with the condescending tone of someone who is used to being taken seriously because of her skin color and her wealth. My husband sometimes leaves on trips without telling me, Vanessa had said, adjusting her expensive handbag. It's no big deal. Marcus is unpredictable. That pause before word unpredictable had sounded fake to Thompson, but at the time he hadn't pressed it. Now Mrs. Williams lowered her voice. There's something I didn't tell you, she confessed nervously. The night Marcus vanished, I heard screams from the house. Then noises, like someone dragging something heavy. The very next day, workers came to do renovations, staying late into the night. A shiver ran through Thompson. Renovations? On the kitchen floor? Vanessa had said it was a surprise for Marcus when he returned. The irony in her voice had been sharp enough to cut glass. At the time, Thompson had brushed it off. But now, watching Kesha draw on the paper he had given her, he felt sick. The girl was sketching a bedroom with a man lying under a checkered floor. The details were far too real for a 5-year-old to invent. Thompson crouched down, softening his voice. Kesha, where exactly is Daddy? In the new kitchen, she answered quickly. Mommy said it's our secret. But Daddy is very cold down there. He cried loud before he went quiet forever. Mrs. Williams gasped, covering her mouth. Even Davis finally looked up, realizing how serious this was. Kesha, sweetheart, Thompson said gently, can you tell me what happened the night Daddy went quiet? The girl clutched her teddy bear, as if asking for permission to speak. Mommy hit Daddy with a big pot from the kitchen. Daddy fell down and didn't get up. Then Mommy cried and said it was his fault for not listening. She wrapped him in my blue sheet, dug a big hole in the kitchen, and put him there. Later, men came and covered it with new tiles. Kesha spoke so calmly it made the story even more chilling. Meanwhile, 40 miles away, Vanessa Johnson was sitting in her lawyer's office, asking him to rush the life insurance claim for her missing husband. She had no idea Marcus had uncovered something about her secret cryptocurrency dealings, something worth far more than his life, and she never imagined her daughter knew the terrible truth. As Thompson studied the girl's drawing, his blood ran cold. She hadn't just drawn her father on the floor. She had sketched small rectangular bags beside him, like she knew exactly what else had been buried in that kitchen. This was no longer just a missing person case. Thompson could feel it in his gut. And within 2 hours of Kesha's revelation, he was already on the phone with Judge Morrison, demanding a search warrant for the Johnson home. Mike, are you really asking me to approve digging up a family's backyard based only on what a 5-year-old said? The judge's voice over the phone carried sharp doubt. That wouldn't last 5 minutes in court. Sir, Thompson replied firmly, this child gave very specific details about a possible crime. We also have a suspicious renovation right after the disappearance and a wife who seems far too calm for the situation. He could feel his frustration rising. "And do you have any hard evidence?" the judge asked. "Any adult witnesses? Anything beyond the word of a traumatized little girl?" Thompson slammed the receiver down harder than he meant to. 20 years on the force, and the same problem kept repeating. When powerful white families were involved, red tape always got in the way of justice. Just then, Sergeant Davis stepped forward, his face tense. "Chief, I just got an interesting call. Vanessa Johnson was at her lawyer's office this morning. She's trying to fast-track her husband's life insurance payout." "How convenient," Thompson muttered, rubbing his temples as the headache grew stronger. "How many days has Marcus been missing?" "4," Davis answered. "And she's already chasing money." Before Thompson could reply, the station phone rang. Davis picked it up, then covered the receiver with his hand. "It's her, Vanessa Johnson. She wants to talk to you." Thompson took a deep breath and answered. "Deputy Thompson." "Sheriff, this is Vanessa Johnson. I hear my daughter was there today." Her voice was calm, but a thin thread of tension ran beneath it. "Your daughter is fine, Mrs. Johnson," Thompson said. "She was worried about her father." "Kesha has a very active imagination," Vanessa replied, her tone dripping with superiority. "I hope you didn't take a little girl's fantasies too seriously." Thompson's pulse quickened. "And what kind of fantasies do you mean exactly?" "Oh, you know how children are," she said lightly. "Always talking about monsters under the bed, or people buried in the backyard." She gave a forced laugh. It's just her way of coping with her father's temporary absence. Thompson froze at her choice of words. "Interesting you'd mention people being buried, Mrs. Johnson. Your daughter was very specific about the location." There was a long silence on the other end. Then Vanessa spoke again, her voice colder. "Deputy, I hope you're not planning to upset a grieving family with such unprofessional ideas. My lawyer would be very disappointed." The hidden threat was clear. Thompson knew this game all too well. Rich families always had attorneys ready to twist the law in their favor. "Just doing my job, ma'am. Have a nice day." When she hung up, he stared at the phone for a long moment. Years of experience had taught him how to read people, and Vanessa had just confirmed his suspicions in the worst possible way. No one casually mentions people buried, unless the thought is already weighing heavily on their mind. Davis came back, holding a folder. "Chief, one more thing. I pulled Marcus's phone records from the last month. He called a divorce lawyer several times right before he went missing." A piece of the puzzle clicked into place. "He was planning to leave her," Thompson murmured. "That's not all," Davis continued. "I checked property records. The house is in Marcus's name. He inherited it. If he died without a will, everything would go to his wife. But if he divorced her, she'd lose it all." Thompson leaned back in his chair, the picture becoming clear. Motive, opportunity, and now urgency. At that moment, Mrs. Williams entered the station with Kesha. The little girl ran straight to Thompson, as if he were the only person she trusted. "Detective Thompson," she said softly, "Mom is mad at me for talking about Dad." She climbed onto the chair beside his desk. "Why is she mad, sweetheart?" Thompson asked gently. "She said they'll take her away and I'll be all alone. But I told her you're nice, and you won't let that happen." Thompson's chest tightened. This innocent child had no idea the storm she had unleashed with her simple honesty. "Kesha," he said carefully, "do you remember anything else about the night Daddy went quiet?" The girl hugged her teddy bear, thinking, "Mommy cried a lot." Then she talked on the phone with a man who called her my love. Daddy never called her that. Thompson and Mrs. Williams exchanged a glance. Another puzzle piece slid into place. An affair. "Do you know who that man was?" Thompson asked. "I don't know his name," Kesha said, "but he came to the house once when Daddy was at work. Mommy said he was Uncle Richard, but Daddy doesn't have a brother. They kissed on the mouth like Mommy and Daddy used to do before they fought all the time." Thompson shut his eyes for a moment. In just 2 talks, a 5-year-old had given him more useful leads than most detectives could gather in weeks. Kesha's innocence was both a gift and a curse. She noticed everything, but didn't grasp how dark those truths really were. Meanwhile, Vanessa Johnson was probably sitting at home, carefully plotting how to cash out her husband's life insurance and start over with her lover. She had no idea that her daughter's honesty had already handed justice the very clues needed to unravel a calculated murder. And what Vanessa didn't realize was that every arrogant word, every veiled threat, was only digging her own grave deeper. The innocent truth of a child had become the strongest weapon Thompson ever held. But he knew going after a powerful family required more than instinct. It needed strategy, patience, and evidence. While Vanessa Johnson probably slept comfortably, counting on her lawyers and political ties to shield her, Thompson spent the night building a case she would never see coming. "Davis," he said quietly in an empty station, "I need you to do something off the record. Do you know anyone at the phone company?" Davis smirked. "My brother-in-law works there. What are you looking for?" "I need Marcus Johnson's phone records, the location of his cell the night he went missing, and data from the tower closest to his house." Thompson jotted notes in a private notebook, away from the official files. "If his phone stayed still somewhere, I want to know." Meanwhile, Mrs. Williams had become an unexpected ally. Retired, with nothing but time, she had the gift every elderly neighbor carries, the ability to watch everything without being noticed. "Sheriff," she whispered over the phone later that morning, "Vanessa is packing 2 large suitcases. And that man Kesha mentioned, Uncle Richard, is helping her." Thompson's pulse quickened. "Can you get his license plate?" "I already wrote it down. They're also carrying boxes out of the basement. Heavy ones. Too heavy for just 2 people. Thompson smiled for the first time in days. "Mrs. Williams, you're a better detective than half my officers. Keep watching, but don't let them notice." "Sheriff," she replied firmly, "I've been watching people for 70 years. They'll never notice me." The call ended just as Davis returned with a file that shattered Vanessa's confidence. "Chief, I got the data. Marcus's phone never left the house between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. on the night he vanished. Then the signal went dead. Exactly the window Kesha described." Thompson's heart thudded. The pieces were lining up. "And that's not all," Davis added. "Uncle Richard's full name is Richard Steinberg, 42, financial advisor. And get this, he owns a cryptocurrency company, registered under Vanessa Johnson's name. 3 months before Marcus disappeared. They had been planning their escape. That gave Thompson an idea. He called Dr. Patricia Moore, a child psychologist he trusted deeply. "Pat, I need your help. I've got a 5-year-old girl who saw something terrible. She's already spoken to me, but I need your expertise to make her statement official and unshakable in court. Mike, you know testimony from children this young is rarely allowed," she cautioned. "This one is different," he insisted. "She knows things only an eyewitness could. With your validation, we have a real shot." Dr. Moore agreed to meet Kesha that afternoon. Thompson, meanwhile, prepared his boldest move, facing Vanessa Johnson before she could run. "Davis," he said, a hard edge in his voice, "let's pay Mrs. Johnson a friendly visit. Nothing official, just to see how she's handling her husband's disappearance." As they drove to the Johnson home, Thompson's mind raced. Vanessa had probably already called her lawyers. But there was one thing no money could silence: the truth of a child too young to lie. Arriving at the house, Thompson spotted Richard's car and the suitcases inside. A smile tugged at his lips. Guilty people always made the same mistake. They thought they were smarter than everyone else. He knocked on the door with the confidence of a man holding all the winning cards. When Vanessa opened it, her fake smile faded at the sight of his determined face. "Mrs. Johnson," he said evenly, "good to find you still here. Looks like you're getting ready for a trip." He nodded toward the suitcases, while Richard ducked out of sight behind the curtain. "Just a weekend away to clear our heads while we wait for news," she replied lightly, but her hands trembled. "Interesting," Thompson said, pulling an envelope from his pocket, "because your husband's phone records show he was here in this house from 10 p.m. until 3 a.m. the night he vanished. After that, dead signal." Vanessa's face paled. "He must have left his phone behind." "Strange," Thompson said, watching her carefully, "because Kesha told me that's the exact time she saw you strike Marcus with a skillet." Her mask cracked. And there's more, Thompson continued. Your cryptocurrency shell company, registered with Richard Steinberg, right before Marcus disappeared. At that moment, Richard stepped nervously into the doorway. Vanessa, who is this? Richard Steinberg, I presume, Thompson said coldly. Uncle Richard, the man Kesha described. Funny how a 5-year-old can be more truthful than 2 adults with degrees. You can't prove anything, Vanessa snapped, trying to steady herself. This is all based on the fantasies of a traumatized child. Thompson let out a dark laugh. Speculation? Mrs. Johnson. While you thought you were clever, Mrs. Williams has been recording your every move, including the heavy boxes you carried from your basement this morning. Richard's face drained of color. Vanessa, you told me no one was watching. Shut up, she screamed, losing control. And another thing, Thompson pressed on, we've seen the bank records. Suspicious transfers, money siphoned from Marcus's account, and attempts to rush his life insurance. Did you really think you could kill a man, bury him in his own kitchen, and walk away richer? Richard wiped sweat from his forehead, panic in his eyes. Vanessa, you told me Marcus agreed to a divorce. You lied about everything. You fool, she spat, turning on him. Did you think Marcus would leave me anything? He was going to throw me out with nothing. Thompson watched them unravel. Arrogant people always destroyed themselves under pressure. You know what amazes me most? Thompson asked, his voice steady. You underestimated a 5-year-old. You thought you could scare her into silence. What kind of monsters try to make a child hide her own father's murder? Vanessa trembled with rage and despair. That girl doesn't understand anything, she screamed. She doesn't know what she saw, Vanessa cried. Thompson's eyes narrowed. She knew enough to lead us to her father's body, and she described how you hit Marcus with an iron pot while his back was turned. He stepped closer. The saddest part? If you had treated Kesha with love, she might never have spoken. But you scared her so much that she trusted strangers more than her own mother. Richard broke down, sobbing. I didn't know she was going to kill him. I just helped with the money. You also helped bury the body. Thompson shot back. Kesha saw you digging with your mother. You're both going to face justice. Vanessa made one last desperate attempt. You can't trust a child's word against 2 respectable adults. Respectable? Thompson laughed harshly. A killer and her accomplice who tried to profit from the crime? The child gave us clues that led to her father's body, the cell phone records, and the stolen money. Her truth is stronger than your lies. Sirens wailed in the distance. Thompson had already called for backup. The most tragic part, he said coldly, is that you destroyed your family, scarred an innocent child, and ruined your own lives for greed. Marcus Johnson was a good man who deserved far better. Vanessa collapsed, sobbing, while Richard tried to run, but Thompson had blocked every exit. Their arrogance melted into raw panic as officers arrived to cuff them. Justice had come, thanks to the courage of a 5-year-old girl. Months later, after a trial that shook the city, Thompson got a call from Mrs. Williams, now Kesha's guardian. Sheriff, you should know, Kesha is thriving at her new school. The psychologist says she's healing. Yesterday, she asked me if she could write you a letter. Thompson smiled for the first time in weeks. And how is she handling it all? She understands her mother did something terrible, but she carries no anger. Yesterday she said, Grandma Williams, I hope Daddy not be forgotten, right? That child has a wisdom most adults never reach. At the state prison, Vanessa Johnson learned that money and privilege meant nothing behind bars. Serving life without parole, she was shunned even by other inmates. Richard Steinberg fared no better. Sentenced to 25 years, stripped of his freedom and fortune when authorities froze the shell company. The irony was clear. 2 adults who thought they were smarter than everyone had been destroyed by the honesty of a 5-year-old. Dr. Patricia Moore, who had documented Kesha's trauma, became a national advocate for children's testimony in abuse cases. Soon, detectives across the country were following the Kesha protocol, built on her case. The Johnson home, once a place of tragedy, was later turned into a community center named after Marcus Johnson. On the anniversary of his death, Kesha placed yellow flowers on his grave. Daddy, Everyone knows you were a good man. No one will forget. Thompson knelt beside her. You know you're a hero, right? Because of your courage, your father got justice. I just told the truth, Uncle Thompson, she said wisely. Grandma says lying hurts more than the truth. Vanessa's appeal was quickly denied. The judge's words echoed. Credibility has no age. This child showed more courage than most adults who stand before this court. As for Richard, newspapers later reported he had lost his mind in prison, repeating the same words over and over. The girl knew. In his desk drawer, Thompson kept a photo of Kesha smiling at the playground built in her father's memory. Whenever cases felt impossible, he looked at that picture and remembered. Sometimes justice comes through the smallest voices. Vanessa's arrogance became her downfall. Kesha's simple truth became her strength. And the world learned that the honest words of a child can break even the darkest lies.